Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. My name is Tom Springer. If you haven't met me before, welcome. For those of you who do know me, welcome back. It's 7 p.m. Central, which means 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, 2 in Hawaii, 6 a.m. in Indonesia, and roughly around noon in Australia. Just kind of covering the world because I have people from all over the place who watch. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here. Tonight's show is kind of interesting. Hi, Jamie. How are you? Glad to see you're here. And tonight's show is going to be a little different. Actually, let me grab this right now. I'm going to post this a couple times. I'm doing a live forum where if you want to come on and you have stories you want to share with me, with the audience, whatever else, as far as paranormal activity you've had, what you've seen, what you've heard, what you felt, anything from cryptids, aliens, UFOs, paranormal, dolls, weird things that have happened, lights flickering on and off, whatever else, come on in. I just posted the StreamYard link to all three locations, Facebook, YouTube, and to Twitch. Come on out, take a look. If you want to jump in, all you got to do is, it's way over there, jump in. And I will see you pop up down below. If you have an audio, if you have a camera and a mic, that would work best for you in order for me to see you. Hi, Amy. How are you? A little story that happened to me just recently. I was gone. As people know, I was down in Pendleton, which is Camp Pendleton, which is down in Oceanside, California. Really nice place. If any of you saw the pictures I took of me hanging out at the beach, it was a real nice place just kind of hang out. You know, high 70s, low 80s the whole time for the highs, and then mid to high 60s for the evenings for the low. So it was very nice out there. But I did have a weird couple of nights to where the first night I fell asleep. And what's up, Stuart? How you doing, brother? And the first night, I was laying there and I woke up just as I felt someone kind of wrapping arms around my waist. I was dead asleep to the world. And it just kind of happened. Like I said, it was, hi, Patricia. I was laying there. TV wasn't on. Nothing was on. No one's outside. It was dead calm. And it was just very odd. I felt the kind of touch right up around my ribs on both sides, and I woke up, and I think it jumped away from me at that point. I didn't say anything to it. I didn't know what it was, but I definitely know that something happened. I didn't want to confront it at that time because I didn't know. I got no feeling from it outside of that was kind of weird type of thing. Hi, Zhang. Welcome to the show. Thanks for showing up. Everyone who doesn't know Zhang, say hi to Zhang. She's seeing us all the way from Indonesia, so I appreciate her being here. But the second night I was there, I was laying there and kind of did a little bit of the talking before I went to bed type of thing, saying, all right, if you're going to come back to me tonight, feel free. Let's have a talk or whatever else. And weirdest thing was, as I fell asleep at about 2 o'clock in the morning, for some reason I woke up and I felt something actually like rush up onto my face. And I saw it. It was pretty dark, but it wasn't. I couldn't make out any features really. But it is very unusual for something to sneak up on me, Jamie. That's right, especially me. That's why I wasn't overly worried about it, because normally my spidey senses will kick off if there's something really bad. But it rushed up on me the second night, and I woke up just as it was coming towards me, and I think it realized I was awake because it instantly stopped and like went away, like really backed off big time, and just decided, nope, he's awake. This is not a good situation for me. It's time to go somewhere else. So I talked to it that night, the second night, and I was holding discussion with it, saying, hey, you know what? If you're coming to me because I can hear you, I can feel you, and I can see you, come talk to me. I'm completely open to this. I don't have that problem at all. Let's get your story going. Let me find out about your past. Let me find out about what's going on. But if you're malicious, just know that I am not afraid of you. I do not believe you can do any harm to me at all in any way, shape, or form, and you should be afraid of me. And then I also told it, if you are a positive, loving being in my life, then you are more than welcome to come up and talk to me. Do whatever you want. As far as, come to me, touch my hands, whatever else, I'm perfectly fine with that. And it's very interesting that my first instinct after that came to me was, I don't know if people know, but about a year ago, right where I was located at, I can actually look out on the bay where amphibious training happens, practice happens. And about a year ago, I know this has got to be Joe. What's up, Joe? How you doing, brother? But about a year ago, a Marine unit was actually out in the water. There were 6 of them, and they were doing amphibious training in the bay that I can see that was right next to my room. And something happened to the amphibious vehicle, and it actually sunk, and it filled up with water, and they couldn't get out. So all 6 of those gentlemen died. I really believe that it was one or a couple of them that came up to me. Was my first vision in my head as soon as I said, come talk to me, let me know who you are. If you're not malicious, let's talk, let's figure this out. And that was my very first instinct. It was one of those 6 or 2 of those 6 people who had passed away. So I sat up for the rest of the night. Sleep is optional with me, so it's not a really big deal. But I sat up the rest of the night and just talking to them, him or them, however many there were, explaining that I knew their story. I know what had happened. I got the feeling they knew I was prior military and I still work with the military, which is why I was on the base. And everything from then on out, I was there for 2 weeks, and this was in the first couple of days. And everything then on out for the next, 11 days, 10 days I was there, it got really quiet. Never had anything happen to me again in the room. And I think it was because I was right on who I was assuming it was. And I think they just wanted to have someone to talk to understand what happened to them. It was an accident, and that they're appreciated, they're missed, they're loved, and that the story got out there. So I'm sharing it with you so even more people know about what happened, so that story lives on. I don't care. This could be the only time I ever say this story, and that would be perfectly fine because now I have passed it on to others for it to live on as well. And I think that's very important for a lot of people who have passed on. So, what's up, Bobby? How you doing, brother? Bill's here as well. How you doing, Bill? What's going on? Let me post this again really quick. I get the feeling I'll post this a few times on here. But again, my show is kind of an open forum tonight. I'm kind of taking in stories, talking about stuff that's happening, stuff that's going to happen. If you guys have anything that's coming up that you want to share, that you're going to go on, or anything else, or stuff that has happened in your past that you want to share with Jamie, this is kind of a weird question because it seems like even though it's my show, everyone wants to know where my wife is. It happens the same way when I golf. I golf with a bunch of guys, and she golfs with us. And the first question they always ask is, "Hey, where's Nicole?" So apparently, just the fact that I can golf is not the fact that I am not as pretty as she is. So I understand the question. She's on her way. She was actually going to see one of the guests I had on before. Her name was Dana Ucamp, and she does the angelic frequency tuning, and she also does some numerology. And she was on my show a while ago, and Nikki had a meeting with her tonight. And it was supposed to be an hour and a half, and those two get to talking. And she sent me a message about 20 minutes ago after being gone for almost 2 hours saying, hey, she's finally on her way home. So she will actually be popping in probably behind my back here shortly when she gets here to just be online with us. So that way she doesn't want to jump on and take up one of the spots I have, because I can have up to 10 guests at a time on this live stream. So like I said, if you guys want to come share the stories with me, feel free, jump in. I know, Bill, you talked about it. I did list out the StreamYard link again. I can see you as you guys pop in underneath. I would appreciate if you had a microphone and a camera. If you don't, then that's fine. We can always, as long as you have something you can talk through so we can hear you, that would be great. But microphone, camera would be good too. And other than that, I can just tell you stuff that has happened to us or myself as well since we've moved into the house. Not much has really happened. It's been kind of quiet in the new house. It is very calming now that we're right next to the water and we can go put our feet in the sand whenever we want. This is kind of a weird location here because although it is right on the water, we are the only couple, it seems, that actually gets into the water. Everyone else has pontoon boats, or they don't even have access to the lake from their backyards. They just let it all overgrow and everything else. So they don't even have access to the water, whereas we do. And it seems like it's been very calming. It's been a very soothing place especially for Nikki. For me, it's nice. I like the water. I love the water. It is a calming place for me, but again, I only sleep about 3 or 4 hours a night anyways, and that's on a good night. I still have stuff that wakes me up. I get lately, my dreams have really kicked up quite a bit. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's nothing. It's nothing that is consistent outside of the realm that it always seems to be me having to rescue people. Literally, like I'm pulling them out of danger where they're being threatened by other people, or I have a couple of my dreams I've taken a bullet for people, but I did that in the past, so I guess that's just kind of residual from what I've did in the past. Just very odd to where it almost seems like I'm having to step in a lot and rescue people, and I don't know what that's tied to. I don't know if that's tied to something that should be upcoming or something that's expected of me, kind of in the role I'm in nowadays or whatever. But yeah, and Amy, I have heard that too. I've heard a lot of this. She said she's blaming Mercury retrograde, and I have heard the same thing. So I am going to go ahead and blame that as well. Oh, I actually have someone popping in. So I have Trisha popping. Oh, she did pop in, and then she just popped back out. I was just kidding. Just kidding. Wait till next time. But any of you have any stories to share? Any of you want to talk to me about? If you don't want to show up online or anything else, then just type it over in our comments. I show comments to everybody and I read the comments out. I know that I do have people online that are not active in my audience because they are actually putting headphones in and they work around their place or they're at work or whatever else, so they can't actually see or read the screen, which is a lot of times why I read out the comments when I put them up, when you guys post them. Yep, Jamie's saying the same thing. Hearing a lot saying dreams are kicking up, including myself. Yeah, I've had a lot of that. Yep, I know, Joe. I know you're there. I appreciate you popping in, brother. So that's good. Stuart saying similar dreams of saving people, but I'm behind the curve because of buffering. No, you're pretty close. You're not too far behind us. Bill, that's kind of up to you, brother. You saw the commercial that came out, hopefully, and you guys saw the advertisements. I want feedback on the commercial. Do you guys like the commercials? Do you want me to keep making them or whatever else? Kind of give me some feedback on there too. Now I do have Trisha popping in, so I'm going to bring her back up on here. So, hi, Trisha.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. No, I just wanted to tell you, the last time I was on your show, I think was March.
Yeah.
And I was talking about Charles, that he had been really far away and that he was calling, but he sounded like he was 5 miles away.
Right.
I was talking to you about how angry I was, about how some things had happened and why doesn't he come visit? And I was just really angry. Right. And I'll never forget this. And I've told this to so many people and they laughed so hard. And you said, well, because I said, well, I'm just in my angry phase of grief. And right. You said, well, maybe he's waiting until you get to your acceptance phase.
Right.
I have told that story to so many people that have lost loved ones, and they just think that's the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Well, it's true. I mean, why do they want to come visit you when you're still angry?
Yeah, I know.
They want to. I mean, it's true because that's what was told to me. The information I fed you did not come to me through spirit. It came to me from another person. And it was because she had to deal with it. And she said, she goes, my dad didn't come to me because I was angry. I hadn't got to that acceptance stage yet. And I have to wait, because if he shows up and I'm angry, then it's just going to make me more angry, because I haven't had that time. And so she waited, and then sure enough, her dad appeared. So that's good that you got to the acceptance stage. So.
I did get angry. I still get a little angry sometimes. But what was interesting is last week, I work remotely. Mm-hmm. So I was, I'm on my phone, so I'm sorry that I'm moving around a little bit. I was sitting eating lunch, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw somebody standing there, and guess who it was? And so, but there was no interaction at all. He was just standing there, kind of looking around. And I'm saying that this lasted for a very slow count of 2, maybe like 1, 2.
Right.
And yeah, and he was just standing there. He's just looking around. And what I got, I mean, it was loud and clear. It was, I have to figure out how to make this better. Mm. And then he was gone.
Right.
But he never talked to me. He never looked at me. Like I said, there's no interaction. It was more like he showed up and was kind of looking around and just said, how can I make this better?
Right.
And that was it. Huh. So I said,
so there's more to come.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, that wasn't a question. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that to sound like a question. I'm telling you, there's more to come.
There should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Expect that again. But this is going to be when after the I need to figure this out how to make it better stage. He is going to come back, and there's going to be a discussion. Just be aware of that. I'm hearing it now, so that's kind of what's going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yes. This is now someone telling me what to say. So, yes, it is going to happen. It wasn't a one-time show. It was, I need to figure out how to make this better. I'm working at it. I know what I'm going. I know how to progress. Now that I've shown up, I know where I need to go from here. Expect another visit with the discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, as long as it's in the daytime, don't wake me up. I don't like to be awakened.
That is funny because I hear laughter happening, so that's good. So.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, he knows that too.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Perfect.
But I just want to let you know that he finally showed up, but it wasn't. It was like I wasn't supposed to see him.
Right.
It was like he was there and trying to figure stuff out, and I just happened to see him.
You were supposed to see him. That was his I'm still here, I haven't gone anywhere, I'm still with you notification. But now it's now I get to next step. He's basically saying baby steps. I've done this part. This is where I am. You have seen me. You know I'm okay. Next is going to be our conversation. So.
Okay.
So just be ready for it. Or don't be ready for it.
Well,
so.
Looking forward to it, and I will keep my temper.
Good.
He knows what he did.
So. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that will be a discussion that's going to happen. So beautiful.
Okay. Well, thank you, April. I really appreciate that.
April's much better than I am. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to tell you something. She's really been my rock. Yeah. A couple times.
Fantastic. Yep.
And she's really been a great help.
Yep. Hi, Jamie. I see you in there. So I will let you know that I even sent this to her tonight because she and our shows are at the same time. And I always promote her show, even though we're running at the same time, because I tell her my show is a live stream for us to have discussions whereas her show, she is helping people in their lives. So I will always share her stuff out because of what she's doing, even though we're at the same time, because I don't see us as competition. I see us as complementing each other. People come to me to share stories and to hear stories and to get information, everything else, whereas they go to her to kind of help get answers and like life answers they need right there, or anything else they have to ask. So I don't see us as competition. So I will always promote her, and I will always support her in any possible way. And I tell people that because if you have those questions or anything else, remember, I'm still very new at this, but she is a person you can turn to if you have those questions for help, and ask her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Exactly.
perfectly fine if you turn to her for, miss my show to go talk to April. That's perfectly fine. I don't care. I love you guys to death, but if you need help, April's a good person to go to. So
She is.
Yeah.
She really is.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Tish, love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I have two ladies in the background, and I'm going to bring you both on at the same time. So, because these two are problem children, and by themselves, just so everyone knows, by themselves, these two are problem children. Together, I may just lose my show. So hold on a second. Here we go. So I'm going to bring in Amy first. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi.
Hold on. I'm bringing up your other problem child. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hey, Amy!
So,
Oh yeah, you just lost your show.
I gotta go. See you later.
How is everybody?
Bill,
Look, I had to get my iPad open because I had to love some of the stuff you were saying. I was like, I can't do it on here, but I have to love it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Jamie, I got a question.
All right.
Have you been reading your book?
Yeah. I don't know. It's not Audible. I just got it for it's up on my shelf. You can't see the shelf, but I don't know, because I just got it for the signature because it's cool. I did.
I know.
Yeah, it's weird. I should be hopefully coming this week, but I just bought it off of Amazon this week. So
Yeah.
I wanted the autographed copy,
I did too.
because it was just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. All right, ladies, go. Share.
All right.
right.
Well,
Flip a coin. Who goes first?
I don't care. I have all kinds of stuff, but I do have something with the shadows and stuff. I've had lots of people talking about it. So.
Oh, see, that's
yeah. Well,
that thing looked up on me, and I was like, really?
Yeah,
No.
they're not interacting though with the people that I'm talking to, and these are people that feel energy, and like even me, like I
For those who don't know, Jamie the bad dad joke girl.
no, I have the good jokes. But these energies are not interacting, and they're energies that I'm seeing. I feel nothing.
Yeah.
And that's very unusual that I feel nothing.
I didn't feel them until it was like right here. And when I opened up my eyes, it said nope, and it like back
to me.
So
I kind of have an ish theory. It's almost like we're seeing into another dimension or realm. Like they're just passing through. They're not even interacting with me. So it's like they don't even see me. Right. And that's unusual too, because they usually they would come to me for a crossover or they need help or whatever. And it's like they don't care. I don't exist or whatever.
Yeah. Mine was
and other people are saying that.
It's almost like a residual feeling.
It is.
But it's not.
But I feel the residual. Yeah,
right,
but I feel, and that's exactly, it's like seeing the residual, but not feeling it.
Yeah.
It's real weird. And other people are saying that. So.
Mine was, so I've had a couple of those as well, but when I was in Pendleton, I'm pretty sure I identified it was one or two of the who drowned, who just needed someone who understood and talked.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why they came to me, because they were like, oh, yay. So, and it was weird because it did happen like after my show. Like they realized, oh. So like,
they were listening.
Oh, that guy right there. Yeah. So, but yeah, so no, and that's weird too, because there's been a lot of talk lately about Mercury in retrograde and everything that's going on and how it's all kind of out of whack.
This has been started before Mercury retrograde. Now, retrograde may have something to do with the dreams. I've had a lot of people talking about dreams lately too.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's been so much weird stuff that's happened to me in the last week. It's actually has left me speechless at times. And, I don't, it takes a lot for me to become speechless. I've just had to this week, people will say something or do something, and I'm just like, okay, Amy, just shut up, because if you respond to this, it's not going to be good.
Oh, Mercury has really, it has me just cutting stuff out. I'm not responding and reacting to it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Even
not,
at
because it's not going to
work.
be good.
Oh my gosh, even at work, it has been, some of you don't know, but I work labor and delivery, and I'll tell you, this has been the weirdest week. Talk about the weird stuff that's happened with the patients or the drama, social stuff.
yeah.
It's like, just when you think you've heard one thing, then something else tops it off. So it's been an unusual week. Definitely.
That's definitely Mercury.
Yeah.
Definitely. And supposedly the signs that are going to be most affected, I believe, is Aries, Gemini, Libra. Oh, and what is the other one?
Is it?
I don't remember. I don't think it's Scorpio.
No. I want to say Taurus. Is it Taurus?
Mine.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
It's mine.
What it is.
Huh.
Pisces.
You're Pisces?
It's going to be mine. It's Pisces. So.
Well, no, if you're having unusual things, it's because the full moon was in Pisces.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And it was
not
a harvest.
Pisces anymore, no. What was
It's
it at
not.
the end, though? It was Pisces, and then was it Leo?
It moved to Aries.
Oh, Aries? Okay.
Yeah. And then, but I think it's moving maybe to Libra. I don't know. But my astrology only goes so far. Right. I try really hard.
Yeah, mine
to understand.
Mine is not colored by numbers. So
yeah, the whole thing has been I don't know, there has been, and I've had people messaging me and stuff like that stuff is really crazy in the dream world and in the seeing the shadows and whatever it is. And some of it's animals too.
Yeah. I've had some weird activity with animals, weird things popping up. And then I've had people messaging me about weird relationship advice. Like, I don't know you. I don't do well with relationships myself. Why are you contacting me? If I knew the answer, I probably wouldn't be single.
Oh, I can tell you right now, if you're now is not the time to talk about relationships while Mercury's in retrograde. You just hold your horses.
Oh yeah, that's why I've kind of put stuff on hold. I'm like, I'm gonna stick back in my cave. We'll wait till this is over with.
See, and again, this is where I don't know any better. I'm too dumb to know any better because you're all seeing back and doing stuff during this Mercury retrograde, and I'm like, you know what? Nope.
I mean, you can. You just have to redo it, which is fine if you want to.
We've met. We know how I work. But,
what else is on the menu for today?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, what do you want to
I told Amy I was going to bring this up in chat. So if you don't have somewhere you're fixing to go, I have a subject that I brought up on a live just recently, today, a few minutes ago. Poltergeist. What is your opinion on poltergeist? Yeah, isn't it great?
The funny thing is, I just dealt with poltergeist stuff last week.
See, it's been coming up in my field lately, like a lot.
Uh-oh.
And
I had a light switch to come on down in my basement.
See.
But actually, it's just
oh. Did you have to tell us?
It's funny because that you bring that up because my boss actually said, "Hey, can you tell me what's going on?" Hey, look, there she is. I told you she'd be here. What's funny is that my boss actually brought it up, and he was like, "Hey, something happened at my daughter's house, and both my daughters were over there, but they won't tell me what it was because they're afraid I'll tell you, and they want you to tell them what it is. I'm like, okay, cool. And I know that they've had a little trauma turmoil going on because their dog they were not expecting had 9 more puppies, and they're not small. They're Irish Wolfhound puppies. They're 10 weeks old and they're 35 pounds already. So not small. But the houses have just been in complete turmoil. And then he goes, but they won't tell me what it is. And I went, so just tonight, it was funny, before we were talking here, this is actually my messaging that's going, oh, you can't really see it, but
yeah, I can't see that.
going on with them.
I'm psychic.
Like the past 2 hours. And I told them, I go, what's going on with your lights in your house, Cassidy? And she's like, wait a minute, how do you know this? And I'm like, because your dad says something's going on. I go, it's your lights. I go, someone's messing with your lights. And she goes, yeah, I don't know what it is. I go, do you have high anxiety right now? She goes, you have no idea. So it was funny because I didn't tell her poltergeist. I'm not saying poltergeist, but her energies are her and her sister's energies. And her sister is a animal empath. But they live on a farm, so there's a bunch of animals. But they're all kind of going crazy right now, and their energies are all amped all over the place. And I told her, I said, hey, don't go hyper. Just kind of calm it down right now. Kind of level everything out.
And ground yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure she's grounded.
Go from
heavy
there.
Grounding.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So what do you got?
Well, I did just what it was like 15 minutes, and I actually sort of did it right before yours so that I could do a little shout out for you too. So, but it keeps coming into my field, and then I also had a meme for it. So, it is like, to me, what you said, because like I do read energy, so there's not an intelligent energy behind it, as far as it's kind of like projecting energy, like almost like telekinesis.
Yeah.
But telekinesis happens when you're aware of what you're doing. Yeah. And it's usually in girls. Usually they're young, like, and then you add a couple of them, and one of them is an empath. So it's definitely.
Yeah.
Usually, though, it's in younger girls, like preteen, and get the hormones that come in, and they don't know how to handle their emotions and their hormones and all of the anxiety and emotions and what have you. And that's where the energy gets projected and and turns into something. So.
And that's what I've heard is it's a younger, but I think these two is because they all have new projects going on as well. That it's new to them. That I think that it's just kind of, this is where their energy is going. They don't have a place to outlet their energy, so this is what's happening. And I know the older sister also is having weird stuff going on at her house separately, and she's the animal empath one. And and over at the younger sister's house, it only happens when the older sister's over there. And when the older sister goes back to her own house, she has stuff going on at her house. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can identify which one of you it is.
Yeah, which one? Just heavy grounding.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so some of the things that have been happening in my house. So, Tom, if you remember, of the two energies that I have here, the older gentleman and the little girl.
Yeah.
You remember that? Okay, so last, maybe about 6 weeks ago, I actually saw him. And I think he was kind of shocked that I saw him because I was actually sleeping and I could feel something tugging on my covers. And it was right after my ex and I just kind of like had a really big fallout, and I just kind of woke up, and I kind of like shook my head at first. I'm like, blinked my eyes, like, what am I seeing? And all of a sudden I realized who I was seeing. And so I just watched him for a moment, and he was just straightening out my covers because he knows how I like to have my blankets all straightened out. And I just go, hi. He turned and looked at me, and I really didn't see his face, but then he all of a sudden like turned around and disappeared. He almost like had a shock, like, oh my gosh, she saw me. She wasn't supposed to see me. And ever since then, I've been sensing him a lot more. and he does not want me to see him. He's okay with me feeling him. He does not want me to see him.
Right.
And I'm not sure why, but he's definitely is making himself known more. And yeah.
Ready
He's down here.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
Hello.
Aloha, guys.
So
We're all over the globe now.
The myth, the legend known as Joe.
I'm playing bookie, so I might get pulled back into work. I ran into my car and I'm hiding from my boss.
Welcome, Joe. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing, brother? Nice to see
Good,
you.
man. Glad you're able to-
Mercury retrograde, I couldn't get my other earbuds to work, so here I am with these things. You can see them. I like being mysterious, like I have fancy equipment, but
Nope.
no, not with Mercury.
Breaking electronics all over the place.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you got?
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Ghost stories, Mercury retrograde, poltergeist, whatever you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, y'all know I took my daughter to the and it was her idea. She wanted to do it to Oakland Cemetery this weekend.
Oh.
And she saw something unusual. By the way, it's 7:37. So just numbers. In my time zone. Coming out of the sky. So she saw something unusual. And now I see Faye around her all the time. Of course, we covered before we went in and stuff, because Oakland is an unusual cemetery with the yellow fever mounds and stuff. So she ran all over the cemetery, giving all the children Skittles and flowers and M&Ms and stuff. And so she sits on one particular set of steps and she starts humming, really creeping me out. And she's just looking straight. She stops and she's just like looking straight, still humming. Later, she said what she saw, and I'm not jealous. I'm happy for her. I think she might have seen orbs. She saw sparkly little lights. And then, like the sunbeams where you get the glare, but it's the cool sunbeams. She said that they were waving, and she was like sitting still looking at them, and that's why she was sitting so still. I don't know what that was. But, she like
angelic.
Kind of maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of had a.
That's kind of what I'm kind of sensing. I'm wondering if she saw something angelic.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I know
That or
she.
fairy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the little sparkly lights were possibly the Fae, because I do know that I see them around her all the time. But, she
They're always
listens.
around her.
Fairies.
Yeah.
And Jamie. I mean, they're around Jamie, not Jamie's always around her too, but she is too.
Well,
Well, and she hears the little children. She plays with the little children there. And that's why she wanted to go to that cemetery to take them, because she told them she would bring them some more Skittles and some more M&Ms. And she was really a little bit disappointed because it started raining on the way. Now, it did stop, but she has 2 new stuffed animals she wanted to bring to show them to play with, because, she took her stuffed animals and they loved it. So she told them she would bring them some more back. So.
Yeah.
And that's her little, my little oddball.
Yeah.
A little bit like me, maybe. Child. So I don't know. When I see stuff like that, it's not wavy. And I've never seen real orbs. I've seen some pictures, but I've never actually gotten to see real orbs. So
yeah.
I don't know what she was seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my
That place
recent.
has all kinds of stuff over there. Oakland, yeah.
Man, yeah, it really does, because it's got the yellow fever mound, and I think it was over 700. I was thinking it was just under 700, but
Oh wow.
people
I
buried
didn't realize
there.
there was that many there.
And the Shreveport Municipal Auditorium is right across the street, and then Austin Place, the street Austin Place has Logan Manor. It's that the whole several blocks is active, very active, some unusual energies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would love to walk around the area if it were a little bit safer. I need an entourage of.
So you would come back
I would need some, maybe some military personnel would be to investigate that area. But the place across the street, I actually had a vision of a girl hanging herself. But I can't find, like, I can't find anything on it. And I can't get inside the place. It's pretty, it's abandoned and probably not safe to walk inside. And then Shreveport Municipal, there's always a big window, and everybody who I show pictures even and stuff, there's somebody standing in that window all the time. So, and it's actually been on shows that, you know, they investigated, and Elvis has left the building. Right. It was never Elvis.
Oh my gosh, that is so weird. You said that. I just got done seeing that Elvis movie off of HBO, and I literally, right before I got on with you earlier, I had just finished it, and that was the last thing I heard off TV was Elvis left the building.
He was never in that building, though. It's like Ledbetter. It's not even Elvis. Yeah. But I can't get inside to investigate that one either. So, if I could at least have somebody to walk around with me to, you know, to be a little bit safer, I think I could probably get enough energy just touching both of the buildings on the outside. But I wouldn't even get out of my car over there. So.
No, you were hard pressed to get you to drive through that area. You know, you wouldn't even drive through that area.
I know.
Right across the street, like 10 yards from where we're standing.
I know. You know, I wouldn't stop last time either to take pictures because there were homeless people sitting out there, and I was by myself. Well, me and Lily, so I wouldn't. And that adds to the energy too. So you know,
it does.
It's got an interesting energy in that area. So.
But I think that experience we had there, I was thinking about it. You tell them about the experience?
With the one with the drums?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
You want me to tell them or you want to tell them?
Yeah, because I talked the whole time.
Yeah, I'm just listening to you guys talk. I kind of jumped into, you know, I'm like, there's a lot of females in here. Let's kind of try to even it out for Tom. You know?
He's literally surrounded.
And he's just chilling, you know, just chilling.
Ooh, also, I want to talk about
8 older
the starseed stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so let me go first before you guys, you know, take over. And it's fine. I love listening to. I had visited Jamie, and we'd met in person first 2020 January. It was still wintertime. And so we visited Oakland Cemetery. She wanted to show me the yellow fever mound and, you know, that kind of stuff. Romantic first dates, you know. Right. So I get up over there. Now, for me, I'm Native Hawaiian. And my blood is Native Hawaiian and all of that stuff. And I get up on the mound, and I'm expecting, you know, to feel the energy and that. I mean, you got people who are all different, like Jamie pointed out, all these different ethnicities that didn't get along with each other in this time period, literally in each other. You know, their bones are mixed together and all of that stuff because it's the idea of a burial mound, plague pit, you know. But what I felt instead was something very Hawaiian, which was odd in Louisiana. My blood started boiling. I started getting really, really upset. What I started feeling was the same way I kind of feel when people come to Hawaii and they disrespect the land. Yeah. And they want to do whatever. We see the land as our ancestor. Yeah. The land is grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie. And for people to come and just do whatever they want to do, it really like dig up the bones and throw them on the side because they want to build their hotel. It gets the blood. That's kind of what I felt over there. It was really weird. And so I'm trying to tell Jamie at the same time what I'm feeling. I'm like, this is feeling very good right now. I'm feeling really angry. And we were standing by that building, by the municipal building. And that one had a really darker entity in it that Jamie had pointed out. It had something
actually the one across from it, I think, that is the really dark.
Yeah, the one across, the old abandoned Salvation Army, right? So you could feel the presence of this thing, and it was darker and it was more sinister, you know, almost demon-like. And that was right by the mound, across the street from the mound, as you said. And like, so I'm getting affected by this place. And then all of a sudden, on the opposite side of the graveyard, we hear Native American drums and Native American chanting. And we looked at each other and we took off. We ran towards the chanting and the drums.
Right.
Right.
So not
In a
away, we're
small
like,
cemetery.
okay, is there some dude over here chanting? You know what I mean? I'm like, this is predominantly a Caucasian cemetery. Where are the Native Americans? You know, there's nobody there. When we got to the other side, there was not a single person there in the cemetery, nothing. And where did that chanting come from? Where did those drums come from? You know, so we're
It was
talking
cool.
about this year, like a little while ago, and it's very possible that the drums were meant to lead us away from that area, right?
What's really cool though is one of the last times that he came and visited, we took offerings to the spirits and stuff, and we leaned more towards the Native American stuff because that's what we heard, and we saw the coolest, the like little butterflies, and kind of, I don't know, there was a really good vibe that time. That
Like the butterflies were just born, their wings were still wet, but they were drying off, and they were flying around the tree, and there were like dozens of
right
them.
where he left the offering.
Very
It
cool.
was really cool.
And right where we heard the drumming and the chanting.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. But what got us going on that cemetery in the first place was I actually picked up an attachment. We went with I went with a friend and, well, a couple of friends, and there were 101 of us on a historic tour. And that mound felt like bees. Like the energy was so strong that it felt like we were standing on a beehive. And we went in protected. For the longest time, I'm like, how? And then I'm like, how dare they? You know, the whole range of emotions.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to get rid of. It's just like, no, go away, basically. How did we even pick something up? But it was weird because, and I almost wonder sometimes if it was just so that I could experience the feeling and know what people are feeling.
Right.
And in your center, where it kind of squeeze, and then a little bit of like almost nausea, and then just really tired. And it was not a normal tired. It was like I could have fallen asleep standing up for absolutely no reason. Kind of tired.
Yeah.
And so that's what actually got us talking in the first place, was that cemetery. So of course I had to, romantically show
Right.
the cemetery. So I said that whole area is interesting. So
I mean, come on, this is like first date. If it doesn't go up, you know where to put your body when I kill you.
well, and the
bummed
river's
out
right
on day
across
one.
the street, so
Day one, we were bummed out that we couldn't go to the graveyards in New Orleans. They were all closed off to us.
yeah.
We did stay in the haunted hotel.
Yes.
It's called the haunted hotel, literally. They have blood from the fountain and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
But if you think about it, what's the most peaceful, quiet place you can get to get some conversation in? But
the cemetery.
Think about
Well,
it.
and what's so funny is that's the one place that's the one place I'll go in that area where I'll actually get out.
Yeah, there's a cemetery. Even though my grandparents are all buried there, but I've got some cousins that are buried there. But that's one of the most peaceful spots I like to go to.
Yeah.
Go to there and go to this place called Blue Cast Springs, which used to have a sanitarium there, and it's like one of the most peaceful spots, and it's amazing. But yeah, I love cemeteries. I'm like, yeah, take me to a cemetery. I'm all about it.
But I was reminded too in the airport when I flew home, I had all this salt, right? Black salt, red salt, white salt. TSA agents went through my bag. There were these two African American guys, and they're going through the bag, and this guy's like, "What's this?" And the other guy's like, "Oh man, don't touch that. That's voodoo stuff over there, right there going on." He looked at me. He's like, "What is this, sir?" I'm like, "It's just salt." "Why is it salt?" He looks at some other stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I was going ghost hunting." He's like, "Where was you going ghost hunting?" And I'm like, "Open cemetery." "See, I told you that was haunted. What's the matter with you?" His friend, he's like, "Don't touch any of this stuff. Let him go through."
Well, you had your paranormal equipment too, because we were totally going ghost hunting, and it rained. But
and then no Wi-Fi, and then
it was crazy. So
yeah.
That cemetery got us there in the first place because I went with another one of my friends, and we were walking around some of the mausoleums, and there were bricks up there, and one of them said Joe, and she turns to me and she's like, "Hey, do you know anybody named Joe? Cemetery of the Spirits say hi."
Yeah, but that's what I tell people all the time. about the cemeteries is that's where my team used to go sleep when we were when we were in other locations because some places are so afraid of their cemeteries.
Exactly.
They won't go to them because they think at night everything comes to life. So that's why they stay in their towns, and we would actually sleep in the cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
And
Brother, if you guys get Chinese, Japanese cemeteries, you guys gotta go there. That's where you gotta go.
when we woke up and we walked back through the towns, the people would be talking about the noise coming from the cemeteries. And that was us sleeping in it because I had a couple guys that snored. And they were trying to figure out what the noise was coming from the cemetery, like when they were out. They were like, "Oh my goodness, dude, they came to life!" And we just walked through, like, "Just here, just keep walking." But I've actually done, I've actually done Chinese cemeteries. This is before I knew anything, that I had anything. But you still get
April to May, do a Chinese cemetery. April to May is
there's just that vibe.
Yeah, that's the season where they celebrate the dead and you worship your ancestors and stuff. And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I went blank on what it's called.
Yeah, because that's Saham.
It's not Samhain. It's not Samhain.
It's
This
not
is
Samhain,
the
it's
Chinese. No,
Yeah.
this is
Chinese
Right,
is
because I know what we celebrate in October. The other half of the world celebrates it in April and May.
the summer. Right.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Japanese is all born.
I didn't know if it was the same.
Yeah.
I can't believe Qingming. Qingming is Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Qingming festival where you feed them and dance with them and money and that kind of stuff. Burn money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're really active then. Now there's a Chinese cemetery in with the portal tree.
Oh yeah, Manoa Chinese cemetery.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank you.
That's one
that is
Kids
cool.
the kids are always playing there. People see ghost kids over there. They have a children's section. In fact, that's where I was told to bring the M&Ms. You bring candy. Every night we go on there on the tour, we bring candy for the kids.
Yeah.
So much stories, sightings, all kinds of different stuff over there.
Yep.
There's a portal tree there at Blue Cast Springs.
Really?
And it's pretty interesting to go over there. You can actually feel, and I never felt anything negative. It's always been positive energy that surrounds. There's a lot of light. I mean, I can almost see it glow sometimes. There's just something about this tree that's just, it's beautiful. Even in winter, it's
This
amazing.
is like what kind of tree? The banyan tree, yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it looks scorched on the inside, and when you step in, the wind is just like
Wow.
really like all blowing around, and it was warm, like, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like this is fire, I'm scared. This was warm, like you could feel the spirits around you, and it felt like my ancestors is what it felt like to me. And this is just a huge oak tree that is like the biggest oak tree I've ever seen. And so it's very old and it's still alive. That's all I mean, it's just huge.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that a little girl was raped and killed at this tree, but there's been no actual documentation that she died around that area, but how she died has always been mysterious, and that she was supposedly buried there, but nobody seems to can find her. So I don't know if she is making light of the tree or what. I haven't quite figured that out yet.
Crossed over.
Oak trees are portals anyway.
Yeah.
They're portals, especially with Scottish, Irish, the Fae, of course. Yeah. And all of that.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some of those there.
They love the oaks and stuff. Yeah. So, and the willows and stuff. All kind. Well, trees, just trees. Lots of trees.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the banyan trees are cool.
Yeah, well, banyan trees are
kind of grow everywhere. Yeah.
Well, they're kind of a different kind of spirit tree anyway.
Yeah, they go all the roots. You don't know what a banyan tree. The roots grow up, the branches grow out, and then from the top of the branches, the roots grow down and become the next tree trunk, and it moves on and on. So the roots go all the way down into the ground to the point where they tap into the bones, and the spirits come up through the roots, and the tree becomes very, very haunted. It's a spirit tree. That's the one Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, achieved enlightenment while meditating under, because spirits and stuff. And, yeah, we have a lot of the different variations, and all of them are haunted over here. So, yeah.
Of course they are, because the whole island's haunted.
Right?
The whole
this one I
island is,
remember-
well, it's all your ancestors. And it's
I remember we did
literally.
a ghost tour up there. We had a whole group, 20-something people, and we had a bunch of guys partying up there when we got up there, guys in trucks. And when we got up, they all dug out, right? Because here comes a ghost tour with people with cameras, and, they're just drinking and doing up to no good. So we're in the little area telling ghost stories, and then here comes this local guy, freaked out. His friends left him. I guess he went to go use the bathroom. And he came back, and all his friends were gone. And he is just scared, beside himself in fear. And he comes up and he's like, "You need to leave. This place is haunted. You don't understand." I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "I saw a ghost up there." And he points to the tree. I'm like, "Was it the little girl with pigtails?" And he's like, "Bro, how do you know about that?" That's not what I saw. I'm like, "Because that's a ghost that haunts a place." And then this little 7-year-old boy next to me is like, "Mister, why are you scared? It's a little girl. This is a nice place. This place is happy. The ghosts are happy. This is not scary. You need to go to another place if you want to be scared." 7-year-old
Yeah.
boy is chiding this guy that's in tears, because he's so
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah, it's so if you go up to northwest area and you go to the Redwood Forest up in California, it's a very different sound up there, because it's not the leafy green type of trees. They're all the large redwood trees. And when the wind blows through there, the wind is very almost low. It's almost like a very low sound. And if you listen, you almost hear voices, like whispers, the whole thing, because of how low the volume is, or not really the volume, but it's not making a really loud sound that you hear from big leafy trees. It's just ripping through the trees, and the trees are 300-400 feet tall out there. They're monsters.
Yeah.
And they're all interconnected, and it's just like one big life source out there. And when you walk through them, it's just amazing to be in that area. If you can get to a place where there's nobody, and it's just you and the forest, it is amazing. It's Nikki always asks me my favorite place to go, because I've been all over the world, and I told her my favorite places is actually out in Tahoe, up in Lake Tahoe, because they have the same thing. They have all these wonderful. Hi, Deb. How are you?
Hey, Debbie.
They have all
Good
these
stuff.
just monster type redwood trees, and away from everybody. It is just perfectly quiet. It's very calm. But when the wind comes through, it's almost like you're hearing. It's almost like it's. I really don't know how to describe it compared to anything else. It's amazing. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean,
I have goals.
It's
Travel
so,
goals.
Well, it's like so low. It's almost like a really low hum, but it's a wind. It's just a wind. But if you when they kind of flow together, it's almost like you're hearing words. It's almost like you're talking to each other, and it's really cool.
Well, you probably could hear words if you, because you hear elementals anyway.
I hear elementals anyway.
So that's probably why you're hearing them. Because I mean, so do I. I mean, you can, and I mean, because I am a shaman. I listen to them anyway. They're talking to me anyway. to really be able to hear them, I love willows and stuff like that, because they kind of, they rustle with the wind and stuff. But that's just one little tree. I would love to go. I want to go listen to the trees.
Yeah, over at Bluecast, they have this natural made tunnel. The elements have made, and you have to duck a little bit, and you look at it, because I keep thinking, I'm like, who made this? And I found out that it was just naturally made like that.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
part of the trail. The vines and everything are over, and it's not perfect, but you go through it. It's so enchanting. I mean, there's times I've gone through it, and I just sat down, and I just listen to what it's talking about. Just listening.
We went onto a property over in Iowa, and someone has to come over and check some stuff out. So we went over there, and we had to go into this horse pasture. And the person explained to me up on these ridge, past where the trees stop, there's a big open field. And they said they always sense and they feel like they have Native Americans that are right up there. But if you walk, we walked the entire field. And there was one spot in the field where the trees all came over and they all met. And it looked like it was a tunnel. And when I got to it, they were talking to me about it. And when they were talking to me about it, I go, I know what that is. I go, pay attention and watch. This is actually the path that the Native Americans would walk through, right through that area. Now that they passed on, they walk through there, and they go to that line of trees where the land there's no trees anymore. That pasture, that field has always been a field, and that was their hunting field. So they would all sit on the edge of the tree line right there and hunt from there, and then go out and gather the game and come back. And that was the path they'd walk through. And the trees formed a natural arch. So even now, when you walk in there, you can feel that. You can feel the energy.
You still feel it.
And I told them, I said, I can actually see them walking through here right now.
Cool.
And it was kind of cool to just on this little tiny property out here in Iowa, and all of a sudden there's this big pasture full of trees, and that's where it was. Because the whole town before was nothing but trees, and, area. But that
it makes me wonder if we have a lot of Native Americans that have been here, and this natural springs. It used to be a hot springs like resort,
right?
This natural hot springs, and there's been reports of like Jesse James and President Eisenhower and all these other people supposedly been here. That's 5 minutes away from my house. So it's weird that you said that, and there's just so much energy when you go through there, and it just feels so awesome. It just, it's an awesome energy, and it makes me wonder if what you're saying, maybe that's, I don't know.
On the property as well, there's an area through the kind of the middle of it that it feels like temperature-wise, like 5 to 10 degrees colder
all the time.
All the time. They say
it is the same way with this too.
Yeah, it could be 100 degrees, and you walk through this area, and it's like this 50, 60 degree,
yes.
It's just this cool area. Even in the heat of the summer, it's just that one area. Like there's a path through that land.
Yeah.
It's weird that you said that. That's true. I mean, that's what this place is. You go through there, and it's so calm, and it's so just peaceful when I go through there. I love walking in through there.
Is there a water source by it?
Yes, it's not too far.
Okay, because I know that he hasn't said for sure, but he thinks there's an underground stream there. And I think the coolness is brought on by a water elemental that's there. And that may be what's happening over in your section too. I think that if there's a water source, the water elemental is keeping it cool.
Because it was the hot springs, this natural spring, original reservoir is not too far away, even though it's blocked off. It's rusted. You can't use it anymore. But I think it's like behind that somewhere.
But in that area where it's cool, that's where the elemental is keeping it cool at, because that's where ours is as well. That's where his is as well. The person we're talking about, it's right through his same pasture. You walk through it. It's kind of at a lower dip area, and it's just so much cooler right there. And it does not matter how hot it gets. It's sunlight. It's gonna be cooler right there. Yeah. He says when he walks through it, because he always walks his dogs. And he says whenever he walks through with the dogs and he walks with the horses, it's so much cooler. And they just like all the horses and everything stop right there. It's good, so much cooler. And they like it. So, yeah.
Well, and the energy is probably good there too. So they want to hang out in the energy. That's what's so weird to me. That was strange about the tree in Manoa was that it is warm.
It's warmer. It's not colder.
Different.
It's warmer. The air outside is cold. Inside it's warm.
Yeah.
But
usually you hit a cold spot.
Well, could it be the warmth energy from the ground just radiating up? Because, heat rises. So, I don't know.
It doesn't change the air. If you feel where the wind's coming from, it's cold. We're talking maybe 69, 68 degrees. Then you go inside and it's a solid 80. But then you go out where the wind's blowing out and it's cold again.
Well,
It's really weird. And like I said,
Yeah.
there's scorch marks on the inside, like on the
Fireballs.
inside.
Aqua
But
Lele.
there's never been a fire there.
There's never
Is
been
that-
a fire there, but people claim to see fireballs entering the tree and coming out of the tree.
that's your earth elemental.
Maybe.
Hawaiians describe the fireballs, Aqua Lele. They're called the flying gods.
Okay.
They are Aqua. They're spirits, not quite elementals, but they're
Yeah.
like they're gods. And I think if you're gonna go with an element, I think it's more of a fire. They combust. They move around. They go up and down, stop, do circles around you. They won't touch your shishi though. You're pissed. Like there's stories of people that see it coming at them from a distance, so they pee in a circle around them. The fireball comes right up to the circle and stops. Or
Like
goes
the salt
around the
circle.
circle of urine and then flies away.
Oh, all right.
It's your
Yeah.
salt circle.
Interesting.
Right.
And there's your salt. I guess there's salt in it, right? So
It does.
no, in Hawaii, it's like it's legit. Like the spirits don't like urine, shishi, mimi, whatever it's called. They had like a ship on Kauai that was stuck.
I don't either.
It got beached. They got on top of a reef, and they had like tow boats, dragging them back, trying to get this big ship off of the reef. Nothing worked except when this old Hawaiian man, this kahuna, Hawaiian priest, came over, and he said the spirits don't want to let your boat go. So he peed all over the boat, and it slid off the reef like butter. He was
Joe,
yelling at the goats and peeing on the. Yeah, Hawaii is not all my ties on the beach. Some of it's shishi too. You know?
Joe, I know you're driving, but Debbie says, "Hey, Joe, didn't recognize you at first. Can't see the screw without my glasses." So Debbie's saying,
hey,
to you,
Debbie, how's it?
Yeah, this is Joe in the daytime, y'all.
Yeah, at work.
We usually see
driving.
him. I see him all the time, but you know his lives are always at night. So
I passed about
Different.
4 graveyards. Here's the Hawaiian one, where the kings are buried and the queens. So I was like talking about graveyards earlier. There's so much graveyards on the island. Go figure.
"Yeah, yeah, we have a couple graveyards right around us. There's nothing special about them. There's no stories about them or nothing else. But I just want to go to them.
yeah,
yeah.
well,
They're right up the road from. Well, they used to be right up the road from our old house, but we do have a couple more that's around us now that we've moved that we can go check out as well. But the one I'm really interested in going to, because I want to see what kind of vibe I get, mostly because not only what I've learned since I've been doing this, but also because of my military background, is it's a veterans cemetery. Or
I was just fixing to say something about the veterans cemetery here.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, I was right. Like I was 100 yards away from the National Memorial Veterans Cemetery of the Pacific at Punch Bowl.
Oh yeah.
That's like the biggest one here in the Pacific, I think.
Yeah.
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 It's in the crater of an extinct volcano. You know, that's Punch Bowl Cemetery.
Very cool. Yeah, I wanna go to this one because we actually a gentleman I worked with here on my job I did now. He actually passed away a few years ago. He had a heart attack while we were actually out on a job. I wasn't with him at the time, but one of my workers was, and we buried him back in the cemetery. And I want to go visit and see.
Yeah.
But it's a very new cemetery, as far as for veterans and military. So I want to go check it out and see if I pick anything up off of it, because everyone goes, everybody goes to the older ones, and what's history and everything else. I want to go see one of the newer ones and see if it still has that same energy and same vibe, and if they're as active. And
well, my experience, because I used to actually work at cemeteries. I worked at 2. They were both Forest Park, but one of them was newer. I think it was built in the 80s, and it had a different vibe.
Yeah.
But partly because of the property. Part of it wasn't because of the spirit that was there. Part of it was because of the property. The other one was on older, closer to original Shreveport property.
Yeah.
So and it was like, I don't know, 100 acres. It's freaking huge. It's huge. And it's got that's when I'm gonna have to go and do a live in that cemetery, because it's just really pretty. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And some really old stuff and some newer stuff, but the energy it's different there because the property surrounding it is literally the most haunted neighborhood in Shreveport, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's part of it. So,
Yeah, back in like 2006, I went to Denmark and Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And what's strange about them is that all their queens and kings and prince and princesses are all buried, or they're entombed, or they're in the crypt of the church.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk into the church and you'll see where they're all sectioned off. You know, they have their pews over the
Yeah.
kings and the queens,
Yeah.
and it's very peaceful. It's very like angelic when you walk into these places, and usually then the priests or anybody, they're not usually buried inside, they're buried outside. But yeah, we went to so many different castles and so many, but the castles, they don't have the cemeteries at the castles, they're all at the churches.
Yeah.
In the churches, and it's so that was so interesting. Yeah, they don't have that many cemeteries there anyways, because because they have so small land, most of them are either cremated, or they're the way they have their entombment, they're just not, they don't have cemeteries like we do here.
Yeah.
It's totally different, and it's quite interesting.
When I'm gonna kind of tell on myself a little bit. When I was over in Poland doing work, I have a tendency to turn my GPS off when I go overseas and just drive to see where I end up. And I was with my boss and one other worker, and we had no idea where we were. We turned on our GPS unit again because we were down some logging road, had no idea where we were, and the town ended. The logging road continued, and I said, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "Keep going." So he's like, "Turn on the GPS." Our GPS couldn't tell us crap. It says, "Yep, you're in the middle of nowhere." We're like, "Fantastic." So I finally found this road. I drove up to the road, and it turned out it was one of the main roads. And he's like, "Where do we go?" And I go, "I don't know." So we saw these buses coming down the road. I'm like, "I'm going to follow the tour buses." We're going to follow the tour buses. So we start following the tour buses, and they turn up into a forest. And I'm like, "That's interesting." Well, we start turning up into the forest. When we get to the first area, there's a man there who has a submachine gun. And the buses have already continued on, and he stops us, and he asked us what we're doing. And I have to explain we're Americans, and we're there just to see and everything else. We're just kind of checking out the area. And I said, "Can we go up here?" And he goes, "Well, there's really not much to see. It's just a forest. But you can go up if you want." And I'm like, he goes, "Well, what did you hear?" I said, "I just followed the tour buses. I didn't know what this place was. I just followed tour buses. The tour buses know where they're going." So he goes, "Yeah, you can go up. Tell the next person with the gun that I said it was okay." Great, thanks. So we drive up to the next place, and he sees me, and he has his gun, and I kind of point back to the guy, and the guy's waving. He's like, "Okay, go ahead." Well, we go in, and when you get to the top of the mountain or of the forest area, it's still all forest, but there's huge fields out there with these huge boulders all over the place. And there's this really tiny shack. And we get out, and all the tour buses are there. And there's cops there and tour buses and everything else. And we go up to the little shack, and we're like, "What is this place?" It turns out we ended up at Treblinka, which is the second largest internment camp in Poland, behind Auschwitz. We had no clue where we were.
Oh, wow.
So we get out, and we're like, "Can we walk around here?" And they said, "Yeah." And my boss basically said, "I'll pay for this," because it cost us like $1 a piece in Polish money. So my boss paid for our $3, and we went roaming the grounds. It was so solemn. It was so sad because they have they still have a huge, they filled it in. It's a huge glass area that's probably a football field long by half a football field wide. They filled it in with glass because that was actually a bird pit where they buried all the bodies. So now they filled it, they covered it with glass, and people will walk out and set flowers on top of it all over the place. And if you walk back out into the fields, the huge boulders I talked about, those are boulders that people have put up, and there's tons of smaller ones too. There was literally over 40 to 50,000 of these boulders out this field. And what they are is they're not names, but they're markers from where the people were taken from and put out there, because they can't identify who they were. So they can only identify where they thought they came from. So all these boulders are across a couple of miles of area to mark all the passagings for the people who have passed. So it was so very, a very odd feeling. It was one I haven't had before when I've been anywhere. You know, cemeteries, anything else. It was just a lot of overwhelming, like just sadness. Still.
So where do you want to go back now that you know your abilities?
Yeah, now that I know what I know, I would love to go back and see what I feel now, based off of, from what I felt then. But they gave us a story for it. You can go in this little place and they have it all kind of written out for you and everything else. And it turns out the buses that were going up there, for anyone who was curious, the kids who were getting off are all they were all carrying Israeli flags. And because it turns out that a lot of people don't know that, but apparently a lot of other cultures died there as well. They were carrying all the Israeli flags and stuff like that for representatives of Jewish people and everything else. And they were actually getting tours of this place. So this was an active tourist site, and you can see where the train station would come in, and it would stop, and everyone would get off the trains, and elderly and sick people would go one direction because they were instantly killed, and the younger people who had any way that they could help were pushed off to another direction, and everything was taken from them. They were completely stripped. They took anything of property to them. If they had gold in their mouth, they pulled their teeth. They took everything that can melt down, and they were pushed off into a work camp. And then once they became dispensable, they moved them to the other side of the camp and killed them with everybody else and just dumped them into the pits. So it was a very solemn feeling to go there. So yeah, it would be very interesting to see what it felt like now.
Yeah.
If I went knowing what I know.
It's strange that you say that, because I always thought the same thing. I would love to go. Denmark and Sweden, it's absolutely beautiful there. And I would love to go back and experience all that again, because remembering now when I was there, some of the places, we pretty much had full range. There was no tour guide or anything. But there's times I'd be like, it was almost like somebody was telling me, you need to come over here, come see this. But it would be blocked off. Like, you can't enter in this area. And I'm like, but I want to go to that area. Why am I being called over here?
Right.
What's over here? I want to go there. Now it kind of explains, now that I know more stuff, it kind of explains why I was feeling that a little bit.
So for those people that are either coming on late, or sort of for people who are jumping on or wanting to know or still here, if you want to, I just posted the links where you can actually jump into this conversation with us. If you want to come talk, I just posted it over in the comments page. All you have to do is click on that link, and it will give you permission to come into my area here, and I'll see you on the back chat, and I'll be able to bring you in. I can have up to 10 people at a time, so I have plenty of room. So if you want to come join the conversation, come join us. We'd love to have you. Yeah. So you can share your stories with us as well. This is kind of what this was. I
gotta say something too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Beep boop, beep boop. I got bad reception or something. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Can you guys hear me? I don't hear anything.
I can hear you. No. Let
me rejoin.
Okay.
Okay.
Debbie, see, of course, and you see Debbie post this. I can't tonight. I'm making a late dinner. Tonight's been crazy. I wonder how Debbie knew I was kind of talking to her. Weird.
It's almost like she knows things.
She must know things.
Like she's one of us.
I was just on camera.
It's almost like she's one of us.
Yeah, right.
So when are you getting your starseed reading, Tom?
I haven't. Someone has not shared. the link with me to where to get it from.
Someone else knows.
I'm
Right
just
down there, or that way.
saying,
That way.
someone has not shared that link with me at all.
I haven't even shared Starseed with them.
Oh, hers is awesome. Everybody's been all over the place. I only have 4 placements. I will have y'all know. I only have 4. I've been 4 places prior to Earth.
Wow.
Joe,
There's got like 10.
Joe, can you
And
How
she
about
had
now?
a bunch of them.
How about now?
Nobody's robots anymore.
I still hear you.
No one's going to eat food.
No,
Yeah, Jamie, I probably need to talk to
that
you
beep
about
boop
mine.
business was awesome. Oh, have you gotten yours, Amy?
Debbie, we know.
Huh?
That's why we make it.
Did you get yours?
No, what I'm saying is I need to.
It's awesome. It's cool. It's really cool.
I did want to say something that I thought was
Yeah,
pretty
I need to get one.
Good luck.
Listening to you guys talk.
Yeah.
You're not talking about ghost hunting. You're not talking about looking for evidence. You're not talking about looking for proof of the paranormal existing. What you're talking about is going to these places and feeling human emotion that took place there.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is what I love about the paranormal. That part is what I love
Mhm.
about this, because you learn from the people before us. It's not we're out here to prove that we can talk into the dark and someone's listening. I'd like to think that I've grown past that, but it's more like I want to go and feel the energy. I want to go to Japan to Aokigahara because I want to feel what the suicide forest feels
Suicide
like.
Forest, yep.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, you watch The Grudge, The Ring. This is one yurei. This is one tragic ghost. And they are terrifying. Imagine 110 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
but I don't know.
I'd love to
would they
feel
have
how
the
that area
same?
would feel like.
That place doesn't really have the nobody says really that there's that type of spirit there though.
Commit suicide, and that's I was reading, if you commit suicide you turn into a yokai or a yurei, which is kind of
All
one
of
and the
them?
same thing. If you commit suicide, that's what you turn
Commit
into.
suicide in that forest, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've read the same
Period.
thing. Yeah, I've read
So
the
like
same
when you're Catholic and you commit suicide, you can't be buried in a Catholic. It's just like
No, I
that's
mean,
the end. That's the way it goes.
that's a Japanese belief, not a Catholic belief.
Right. Well, I know that, but I'm just saying it's just like that.
Yeah.
You know,
If you commit
this is just the
suicide,
way it is.
you're so depressed, you become,
Yeah.
you know, one of those, right?
Yeah.
A grudge.
Yeah.
Jamie knows what it was like when I came across my first suicide spirit. That was terrible. Yeah, I felt a few more cents, and that's the only type of energy I do not like feeling. I do not handle suicide energy very well.
I have one that I may be working with that I'm actually excited about working with this one because I think I can help. I feel like I really can. They need to be at peace. They can come and go. That's one thing people don't understand, and spirits don't understand, that just because they cross over and they're at rest doesn't mean they can't come back and visit.
So you a psychiatrist for the ghost then, huh? That's kind of what it is.
Well, you know, they think, but how does grandma come and watch over you if she's in heaven, if she can't come back and forth?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, so they can, but spirits don't understand that.
To 3D. So limited to 3D, and that's not 3D when you die, you know, so.
I got a question.
Okay.
I got a question.
I like that.
You can. So I completely agree with the fact that if you go to heaven, you can come back and visit everything else. That's your right. That's just something you can do. When you reincarnate,
I have an answer.
Are you gone, or is an essence of you still around that your family can feel, but part of you has moved on to be that new person, whatever the reincarnate is?
So I think that it's to compare it because I love Mardi Gras. We're like beads on a necklace. And because our energy is so huge, this is just part of it.
Right.
And so it's like that residual energy that you see at a, location or something like that. When you see a ghost, like a ghost, that's just that piece of the whole soul that stays. So eventually, I think maybe all of the energy might combine back, into one. But when you reincarnate, that's another piece on like another bead on the necklace.
Okay.
So you may or may not even incarnate on Earth. You may, you may go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that. So that energy, because I wondered that too, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to think of this in a 3D sense.
Right.
Where it's not, we're so much bigger than this.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that piece is here, but the whole is so huge. So
Yeah, it's
that's
kind of like the discussion, like Jamie, with your stuff recently, like where we were talking about ancestry, and because of all the energy, you can only go back like say 14 generations.
Yeah.
So is that like the same with like incarnate? When you're constantly reincarnating, your energy is being I don't know, recycled.
Kind of, but
Is like how does it go back 14, how long does your
Mhm.
energy keep going for? Like how far back? Because I know I've had dreams of me being in the past.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's like weird dreams in the same era. It's just really odd. It almost feels like that I wake up and I'm like, it takes me a second, like, where am I?
Mhm.
So
Well,
yeah.
that goes with that like beads on the necklace thing.
Mhm.
It's like it's just a new one, but I don't know. Our energy's so huge.
Right.
But also
Yeah,
there are what?
I'm laughing because as we're sitting here,
ladies first, my
she
dear.
went ahead and sent me the link to the Starseed.
I got it.
See,
Did it.
there you go. Also,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what I was going
Well,
to say now.
and the reason I brought that up is because there has been a discussion before about when it was believed that you have passed on and you've gone to heaven and you can come back and visit, you can still feel that person's energy. And they come back and visit you. But when they reincarnate, that energy is gone, so they cannot come back to visit you, which is why you don't feel them anymore. And that has been another thought as well, that once you reincarnate, that energy has moved on completely. And but they left and they reincarnated because they left you the understanding that I'm good, all is good. They've let you know ahead of time, all is good. I'm really happy I was able to spend time with you, but guess what? I want to go live my new life now, so I'm going to leave all my energy to form my new life. Just know that I'm always with you, but I'm not going to be coming to visit because now I'm going to go live my new life, wherever that may be. So that's where that energy goes. So that's why you don't feel that loved one anymore, is because they have reincarnated and now that energy is put into their new life.
Time is only a construct. Time is a three-dimensional construct.
Right.
When we die, we transcend time. And so our reincarnation, our past life selves and stuff is only a time. It only matters in the 3D world. Hawaii, maybe here's kind of like the Hawaiian thought, because we've come across this before. The bones are very sacred. You touch the bones, you're going to get bad luck. Really, really bad luck sometimes.
Yep.
Like the whole construction crew dying that's building the freeway kind of thing because of the bones. But the Hawaiians believe when you die, you go to Ao Amakua, the realm of the Amakua, your ancestors. You go to heaven, in other words. But why are they still haunting their bones, right? Why are they still here? Why are they still there? What I came across was a theory that kind of explains both, where energy is energy. It's like a CD. So like a ghost is like a CD. It's like you heard repeated hauntings and stuff. It's like energy burned into a wall or burned into a medium or an object that will replay itself again and again. Well, what if the replaying itself is like the Harry Potter pictures, where instead of capturing a video clip or a picture of the memory, it captures the liveliness of the memory. It captures how the person's behavior and attitude was at that time, so they can still interact with you. Anyway, I'm tangent done. It's like the bones are in the earth, but the spirit is not. But there's still spirit in the earth. When I die, I'm going to take with me all the joys of eating that perfect steak, but the knowledge of cooking a steak and cutting it is going to stay in my bones. The knowledge of riding a bicycle, which I will never use again as spirit, will stay in my bones. And that's still Joe. all of the things that I'm leaving behind I will never use, but all of the experiences I'm taking with me. So there's two Joes now. You see, so you can haunt people and you can still be in heaven cruising with them, you know. So it gets complicated. That's kind of how I thought it, like in energy. And in terms of reincarnation and stuff, like what Jamie said, that's a good explanation. But a theory I had, and I've been thinking more about it, but I talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, I went to a psychic and they say that in my past life I was Einstein. In a past life I was Abraham Lincoln. In a past life I was, you know what I mean? All of these names always come up.
Everybody's someone famous.
These are legitimate psychics,
Yeah.
right? So why not? A soul is energy. When Einstein died, all of his soul split off, and parts of his soul went into the next 20 billion people that are going to be born. And so part of them were Einstein at one point. Instead of taking a soul and just saying this one piece of soul, this one atom of soul is me, you could say that I am a composition of billions of different souls that uniquely is me. Like Amy was saying, you know, your ancestors and stuff, your past lives. I have past life experiences from the Hawaiian side, being the king, being the priest. I have past life memories as well from being the Mayflower, being, you know, some of the pilgrims off the Mayflower from my mom's side, who's Caucasian, and my dad's Hawaiian. There's some Chinese memories in there too, where I can remember these past lives as well. But I was never actually just them. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But that's your ancestral memory.
I'm just trying to piece this together. Huh?
Yeah.
Ancestral memory is
Yeah.
different from past life. In a
But
past life, I could have been a boy.
People confuse it.
That might explain some of the dreams and stuff that I've
Mhm.
had. You know, makes me question, why was I dreaming that? Was it an
It's your-
ancestor? You know,
Yeah, your
sending that to
ancestors
me?
trying to talk to you.
Yeah, and then another thing is weird that you said, Tom, was that I've always thought that my aunt pretty much has always been my guardian angel, has always been my guide.
Mhm.
Well, then all of a sudden, I have now who I call my protector is now around. So when he started appearing, I'm like, well, where's my aunt? I
Right.
don't feel my aunt at all anymore. I've even
Well-
gone to her grave and tried to talk to her, and I do not feel her like I used to. You know, now
You know
I have
our,
this wonderful protector.
Hold on one second.
Well,
Jessica, welcome. If you want to jump in, Jamie's clapping. I posted the links on the bottom. So if you want to jump into here, I can have up to 10 people in here at once. So click on the link, come join us, and come join our conversation.
And yes, I was messing with Debbie because she is a psychic. She is one of us.
I know.
Debbie is our Reiki, one of my Reiki sisters.
Oh.
Too, so, but you know, our guides change from time to time as our needs change.
Yes.
So, you may not need her. You may want her. Your 3D, of course, wants her to be here, but you may not actually.
Well, I mean,
need
it's
her
not
here.
necessarily, you know, that I've needed her. It took me a while to figure out who I call my guardian angel, my spirit guide, you know, who it was. And then after a while, it was kind of like, oh, duh, the clues that I'm getting sent was my aunt.
Yeah.
You know, the sense, the weird things that happen, you know, just different things that all of a sudden lined up on who it was. And so I would talk to her and she would, you know, in a way respond. And then one day it was just kind of like all of a sudden my protector was there. And she had moved on. So yeah, maybe it's like my needs from her are not there, or she was needed somewhere else, or I don't know. Yeah.
This is
And I
part of
don't
the
know who this protector guy is. I could tell he's not family. I have no idea who he is or
where he came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is part of the fun of it, I think, is
Yeah.
you know, the mystery of it.
He's very secretive. He's just like he's been coming in and out down here because he's like wanting to know. He's like, I'm being talked about. So what, you know, and then the little
What are y'all
girl's
talking
hanging
about?
out too. She's like going, am I included?
Your lights start flickering, we'll know. You'll know it's her.
Well, I can hear them upstairs. What's really weird because I think I have their portal up in this room up here, and then I'm gonna make my spiritual room. And if they hate it when the door's closed. So if I close that door for any reason because of the grandkids, they get mad at me because I can hear them stomping around or jumping down. And as soon as I open up that door, they're like, yes, I'm free and it's quiet.
So I work in a building on a base here that that used to be during World War II. It used to be a factory, an assembly line to build the B-27 bombers, and there were known numerous deaths during that time frame in the building. And this building is a monster. It is huge. It is you got to figure it used to be able to house, and above they used to have like the assembly lines. You could just push the items down the rails to the next station where they do the next part, put it together, and everything else, just like you would kind of see. Hi, Melody. How are you?
Hey, Melody.
Melody, I'm posting a link. If you want to come in, feel free.
Yeah.
I can have 10 people, but I'm the first one to open up that building in the morning, every morning. And I go in there, and I definitely know that they are in like the spirits of the people who have passed, because there were numerous people who were killed in there, and even people who have passed on that didn't die there, but that was their livelihood. That's where they really believed in what they were doing for World War II to defend our country, and they still have ties to that place. That was their job and everything else. And they did it out of the utmost patriotic respect they could possibly have to do that. And they're still there. So when I walk in the morning, I'll sit there, and every once in a while I'll hear like movement around me. Like literally I'll hear the footsteps, or they'll play with stuff. Like all of a sudden my printer will go off for no reason at all, or stuff like that. So I know they're there. So I always have that conversation in the morning with them, saying, "Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?" Everything else. And it's funny because that's just where they want to hang out at. And but it's really cool that they can pick anywhere in the world to be, but this is where they choose to come, at least to come say hi in the morning. I have asked some of my coworkers, hey, because I had become the early person. There were people before that were early people, but I asked them, hey, did you ever experience stuff like this and all everything else? They're like, dude, you're crazy. I'm like, okay, so it's because I can hear them that they're showing themselves to me and making themselves known, because they know I can hear them. And
well, sometimes people just write it off too. They don't want to know that they're surrounded by ghosts. It's scary, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, and I talk to them in the morning. I walk in, I put the lights on. I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? For us, it's not a weekend, so we're going to be here for the next 5 days. So, but yeah, it's very interesting to have that experience when I walk into that building, and tying it back to how I didn't know this 2 years ago. How I didn't know this, until.
See, that's so weird to me. I've always seen dead people.
But I didn't start picking up on them until I was 49. I'm 50 now. So for me, I was a very late bloomer. 49 years old is when I came into this, and as we've talked about before, it hit me like I was drinking from a fire hose. It did not come around smoothly. It did not say, here's a little piece here, and you can have it for now. And 6 months to practice, and I'm going to give you your next step. It said, hey,
we didn't need practice.
Yeah, it said, here, guess what? Take that. You get it all. I'm like, oh, good Lord, people. What the hell?
Well, that's kind of, I understand where you're coming from. Since I had been experiencing stuff my whole life, I didn't know what I was experiencing. And then once I figured it out, and it's like, bam, now I'm like, what do I do?
Right.
How do I handle it? How do I organize it? How do I, yeah.
Well, mine started amping up like several years ago. It went nuts. And that's when I started writing it down. And I tell this story all the time because it cracks me up to think about it now. I started writing stuff down because it's like, I'm going to journal my trip to the crazy house because I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. And if I wasn't crazy, because I'd like to think I wasn't, but dang, I wanted to log what I was getting, because it was so much information that what if I needed it later? I'd never remember all of it. And that's when the automatic writing started, which didn't make it better, didn't help me feel not crazy, until I started getting information that it was relevant. And then I'm like, yay, I'm not crazy. But then what do you do with it? You know,
Right.
to let, because I wasn't a
found
channel medium then.
I
That
found
was
out
scary.
some of the stuff I'm starting to enjoy the most. And it's just because, I don't know, like I said, I'm still new at it. But some of the things I'm really starting to enjoy the most is people that challenge me. And people that go, really? You think you have this? Tell me about this. And like and I had one person just the other day when I was out there at Pendleton, and we kind of got to talking on the subject. She's very interested in it, but she can have her doubts, and I let her have her doubts. But she sent me a picture of her other half, and she said, "What do you see?" So I told her what I saw, and I told her what her aura was and everything else and stuff like that. And she got real quiet. I'm like, "What's up?" She goes, "That's what another psychic told us." I was like, "Well, what?" I'm like, "So you're just challenging me? Is that what it was?" She goes, "Well, yeah, kind of." And I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks."
See,
So,
my guides don't like playing games. They really don't like to play games.
mine are,
Like,
well,
they're not interested in that.
it's funny to me because now people, because it is new, and people who know me or haven't known me or whatever, new people know, they're like, "Wait a minute, you do what? That can't be right." So they'll ask me questions, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, this is what happens, and this is what I can see, and this is what, I can't do cool stuff like, like give them lottery numbers and shit like that, because that's like,
No, none of us can, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's just not part of it.
but I can tell them
not.
things that I didn't know before,
Mhm.
and I can tell them, "Hey, lately this has been happening to you," and they're like, "No, it hasn't," and I'm like, "Think about it." And like 2 days later, they call me back and like, "Son of a bitch." Like, this has been happening to me. I haven't been paying attention to it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's the same thing. It's like there's this guy that's been messaging me and having issues with these girls,
Right.
whatever. And I'm like, dude, what are their signs? And so he'll tell me, and I'll like look, and I'm like, dude, you are with the least compatible signs. And I'm like, you should know this.
Right?
And he was telling me a few things, and I'm like, well, as you know, lust is the only thing that's compatible here.
Yeah.
You can't go off of that.
Yeah.
He's like,
My ex
"You
was
love it."
literally in all of the zodiacs. Everything was completely wrong.
Mine
Yeah.
too. Mine too.
It was like, if I had, but I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that then, and I wouldn't have listened. 'Cause
But it was also in
know-it-all.
the chart that we had to go through it and learn it.
It was.
Nikki
It
goes,
was.
Nikki just asked you, "Are we even compatible?" Like, well, I have no idea.
I'm like, I don't know.
I haven't checked those signs.
But it was funny when I was listening to you guys coming home, and you were talking about retrograde, like, or whatever, leaving Pisces, going to Aries or whatever.
Oh,
and
that
I'm
was
like,
the moon.
oh,
Full
the moon phase.
The full moon.
The moon
Going
phase,
to
yeah.
Aries, I'm like, oh, no wonder we're all screwed up over
Over here trying to fight
So
my own
messed up.
face.
Yeah, there was actually some girls at work. I pulled out my bag of citrine, and they were like, "What is that?" And I'm like, because I was cleaning out my pockets, and I'm like, "Oh, that's my bag of citrine. Why do you have that?" And I just chuckled. I'm like going, "Yeah." I was like, "You should have one in your pocket too." And I didn't say it before because she was kind of like not being very
That's when
nice
you ask. That's when you ask them.
last
They say,
weekend. So.
when they ask you, "Why do you have this?" Look at them and go, "Why don't you have this?"
Yeah.
No, I
Why
I
don't
would
you?
absolutely mess with them and tell them, my precious.
Well, I think a lot of the girls, I don't normally work weekends, so they don't know me quite as well. But during the week, they always know that, sometimes they'll even ask, what are you packing this time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My work desk opened the drawer and it's like a whole bunch of different crystals. Like, which one do I need right now?
Yep.
Look, and I joke because I don't work with crystals.
Yeah.
But I have the bottom of my purse is covered in crystals.
Versus
I
$5.
don't work with them though.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
like Debbie.
I only have a few of them that I work with that I tend to know. There's so
Mhm.
many of them, it's hard to keep track on what. So I just take the main things out, the main things that they talk about out of each one, and pretty much, is citrine, rose quartz, clear quartz. I just use the main ones. I don't get into real detail, even though I have a lot of like red japs.
I have a ton of them, but like my jam is selenite. I work with selenite a lot, but like
you're forgetting this that you're always wearing too.
Oh yeah, I do wear, and this is my little healing trilogy, which is tourmaline.
Ready?
Hello.
I can't think. Sorry. Look. Oh, because the crystals got you, didn't it?
I finished eating my dinner and I'm like, well, they're still on. I thought you guys would finish by 9, so I'm like, well, they're still on. I can go on now.
Melody's saying my stones are in my coin purse like a goblin with many currency.
Now this is our crystal chick. Yes, she does crystal Reiki.
Yeah,
So.
I have a few. I have a few crystals.
Yeah, we do too. And we talked about this before that I only wear my copper bracelet that has my tree of life. It's very much a Celtic type of bracelet, but for some reason I'll wake up and I will grab different crystals, knowing that I don't use crystals at all, but I can charge them with different intentions for people and get them to help them throughout the day. And I never know why I'm grabbing the ones I am. I just know that I grab a couple of them every once in a while. I'll put it in my pocket and I get to work. And for some reason, people just start talking to me about stuff that's going on. I'll reach in, I'll grab one, and I'll hold it for a few minutes. And I'll say, give me a few minutes. I'll be right with you. And I'll hold it and I'll give it a little attention. I'll give it to them. And they'll come back to me by the end of the day and they give it back. And like, what did you do? Because that was amazing. So I just kind of charge the crystals and give them an intent to help others, but I don't know.
Well, it's more like programming than I would think.
Yeah,
maybe programming it,
but I don't use it for myself. I don't feel I
no,
need
but you program them to do whatever you want them to. Quartz does anything. Not that I do anything with crystals, but quartz is.
Certain ones have different strengths and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but I never know. Like, it's funny because I don't know all of them like I should. Like, what does what? But I grab, for some reason, grab one of these, grab two of these, grab one of these, and I don't really know what they're for at the time. But when I put them in my pocket, when that person comes to me, I'm like, oh, this stone must be for this. So I can give it that intent and I can give it to them, and they're like, why on earth did I have something?
I always have to look them up. I can never remember. I mean, there's just a couple of them that I do know, but sometimes if something happens and I'm like, I should know which one to be used. So I'm always looking up. Oh yeah, I think I have that one. Well, I don't have that one, but this is a good substitute. So I'll just use that.
We love Debbie. See, there she goes.
I'm just lighting my candle. I'm out here.
It must be citronella outside. Gotta be citronella.
No.
No,
I hate the
really.
citronella.
Oh no, but you had a really bad experience, girlfriend.
Yeah, I have
citronella.
I have it. It's just like a vanilla candle or something. I have candles everywhere too. Crystals and candles everywhere.
Yeah, I have. Anytime I see candles on sale, my cart is full. Because I don't spend the full price on candles, so I find the ones that are like $4 or whatever, and I'm like, we got a whole.
We're going for a road trip.
Yeah, my cat wants out.
Take us on a road trip.
There you go. I have to let the cat outside. My boyfriend laughed at me when he first saw it. Now I think he likes it because he likes candles too. But I have a dresser that is nothing but candles. It's full of candles, and I have more around everywhere because the dresser is full. I have no more room in the dresser for any more candles.
For the candles.
I think that's why I scared off the last guy I was talking to, because I had a lot of candles when he came over. He's like looking around and he's like, "What's all this?" And I'm like, "What's what?" He's like, "You got a lot of candles lit," and I'm like, "Yeah, you've probably never seen that before."
Yeah, he was definitely not for you.
It didn't last long. It was, a month and it was done.
Yeah, if you walk into my house and you see my crystals or my book collection or my candles or and you're like, what is all this? You're weird. Then you're not my people.
You gotta go.
Don't go back to my house.
I actually had one person look around and they're going, "Are you a devil worshiper?" I laughed so hard, and I'm like looking at him, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I don't see any signs of that. And they're like, "Well, you got moons all over there." I'm like, that's not a sign. What planet did you come from?
Yeah. I got accused of that once by my uncle. He's a pastor. And when I first started like publicly talking about doing spiritual work and stuff on Facebook, he went on my profile and like, accused me of going down a dark road and worshiping demons and that. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I gotta nip this in the bud right now. So
I'm going through that with my son-in-law's dad, because he's a pastor at a Lutheran church, and so I just have to. He's like, I really sense some turmoil about you, and I'm like, he's like, you don't have the faith like. I'm like, we're not going there. My faith is intact. I may have other spiritual things that I have in my mind, but we're not going to discuss this.
What do you want? Politics next? Come on.
We're not discussing this.
I pulled out of my back pocket. I'm like, well, Uncle Dick, Jesus was a medium. He talked to spirits in the desert. He raised people from the dead. He talked to spirits all the time.
He turned water into wine.
God, if someone were to raise people from the dead in this day and age.
Exactly.
Like, Jesus said, these things I do, you will do greater. So I said, I'm not doing anything that Jesus didn't do. And let me guarantee I'm not like sitting around with a Ouija board calling on demons and worshiping Satan. That's not what I do. I help people, and I help spirit. And he's like, how do you help spirit? I said, sometimes they get stuck. They don't cross over. Well, that's God's decision, whether they're allowed into heaven or not. And I said, Uncle Dick, I respect your beliefs and your belief system. I grew up with it. But, my experiences that I have personally don't align with all of what you're saying. And I said, I still believe in God. I still believe in Jesus. I still believe in the Holy Spirit. But I have mediumship abilities and I help. And I said, if that causes a problem for you, then that's your problem. But,
and that's one thing a lot of people don't understand is when we have these gifts, they can't understand our side of it.
Right.
And it's just so hard, if they don't experience it, it's so hard for them to understand it. So then we're labeled crazy or, I think a lot of the people that I work with is understanding it. Most of my kids now is understanding it better because they've actually seen firsthand what I can do. And it kind of freaks them out a little bit now. But it's, so I really don't talk about it with my parents because my parents are not ever going to understand, especially my dad.
It just terrifies my mom more than anything.
It terrifies my dad. He doesn't want to. If I start talking about it, he leaves the room and he gets mad. So,
no. Well, my mom would be, because she's seen things. She's scared for me, not really, for the rest of it. It's like, I've got this, I have my guides and my guardians are pretty awesome. You don't get much bigger than Archangel Michael. But,
my mom thinks I'm just going through a phase.
I've been going through this phase like my whole life. I just haven't been public with it.
I think I have too, but just didn't realize it till later. Then when all of a sudden I realized that it's almost like, how people say before you die, like your whole life, flashes. Well, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like when I all of a sudden realized everything that I experienced, everything just all made sense. Everything just flashed before me and it all of a sudden made sense. It's like I had this big realization and you wouldn't believe how dizzy I got. And it just was so overwhelming. It was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Well, I've had, it was kind of like that for me too. And so I was really excited about it and kept learning as much as I could about it. But I've had, that type of experience with family members. My mom has actually become very accepting of it and I can talk to her about it now. But like I was married for 25 years and my ex-husband could not believe that anybody could talk to spirit. And I'm like, well, have you ever been to a medium? And he's like, no, but I see those fake mediums on TV and stuff. I've heard about them. And I'm like, yeah, there's some people that are fakes or that do it for the wrong reason. I said, but the majority of us aren't doing it for the wrong reason. We're doing to help people heal. And I said, you know, he wanted to be like an ostrich and bury his head in the sand. Nope, it's not part of my belief system. I won't believe in it. And he couldn't accept it. And we grew apart and he left, you know.
Right.
So
well, there's this one medium that has her own business. She does different things out in like 45 minutes away from here. And I remember people talking about her and like, how could she still be around? She's ripping people off. And I'm like, if she was ripping people off, number one, she wouldn't be around. Number two, she's not advertising her business. She just has a little sign on front. Everybody knows about her.
Yeah.
If she was wrong or something wasn't right, she still wouldn't be there. And people still wouldn't be talking about her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, like, a lot of people are like, well, I saw a medium and they got some things wrong. They were incorrect. And I'm like, look, you know, I said, even the best mediums that I know and have like trained under or worked with or have watched, even they can't get everything right.
Yeah.
The
Well,
best
And then
ones out
sometimes
there,
I think too, it's like it may not resonate with them, but maybe something's going to happen in the future, or something they're reading something about them that happened to a friend, happened to a family member that they don't know about.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and
People
I
got to
said, even
realize,
the best ones, 80% at best. And I said, and a lot of this stuff that you're thinking is incorrect. I told him the same thing you said. It might be something in the future or just something you're not connecting. I said, you have to remember, it's not like the spirit's sitting right next to us and talking in a regular voice where we can see and hear them like a regular person. I said, we're getting it through images. You know, we might get a word or a song or a part of a song, or, you know, we're not getting like a full dialogue. And so we have to try to interpret that, those signs they're giving us, and then give you what we're interpreting of it. So we could be the part in the middle that's causing the error, but it doesn't mean we're doing it for nefarious, you know, negative malintentions.
Right,
you know,
right.
we're doing the best we can to
It's being a
interpret what
medium.
we're getting, but it comes
It's not
in
being
differently.
omnipotent. Yeah.
Yes.
That people seem to think that medium means omnipotent. What do you mean you don't know every single thing about me? What do you mean you don't know when I'm going to die and what the future holds for me? It's like,
Well,
I'm
you
not
can't.
God.
The future is because the
Yes,
free
people
will
want the
choices,
future.
Yeah.
man, that's something else. That
Yeah.
And they don't
I'm not going to
realize
say
there's
it's
different-
impossible, but
Exactly. And there's different types of mediums. Not every
Mhm.
medium works the same. Everybody has
That's
their
right.
own. Yeah.
Vibration
That's
level.
what I think is
everything.
cool too, because the girl that I work with a lot, Imani Hollins, she sees a completely different part of things than I do, and it's like a puzzle that we put together. So we don't ever see the same exact things, but it always fits together.
Right.
So I mean, we all work differently.
Well,
That's
like
what I
Jamie,
love to do
she
with
doesn't have a
cases. I'll have different people, different psychics, different mediums that all get a different piece of the puzzle. Then we'll put them together and figure out what's going on. The problem is when ego comes in and one medium's like, well, I'm seeing this. And the other one's like, no, she doesn't. This is what I'm seeing. This is what's real. This is what's right. It's like, she's seeing this. You're seeing that. You're both right. You know, it's like, no, she's not a real medium.
Yeah.
Like,
There was an issue over at Randolph Asylum that we had last time we were there. And our team was so great because our mediumships are so different. We were able to put the puzzle together, and they brought the appropriate people in and they got it taken care of. And then I went back and it was just so peaceful. It was almost like the house spirits were like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they came out, they were enjoying, because they know us. We go there often enough. They know us. And it was just such a different environment. And it was so great to be back and it being normal and it being, because last time it was scary. It was I felt bad for those spirits. I'm like, okay, we were telling them, we'll get this fixed, we'll get this figured out. And then other teams that were in there, we just all kind of started talking together and we were all coming up with the same thing. So it was quite interesting how that happened.
Yeah, everybody has something they're better at, or like that they focus on more. Like my one friend David, he does mediumship readings for people all the time. I do more psychopomp mediumship to help spirits that think they're stuck, help them cross over. And I don't work like doing, I mean, I can do readings for people, but I don't usually do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, it's more in my wheelhouse, what I like to do. And eventually I might add some of, you know, readings for people into my repertoire of what I'm doing. But right now I don't have the time or energy to devote to that. And so I all I do right now is like rescue mediumship type stuff. So, you know, but it doesn't mean that I can't get in a sign or a symbol or something from, you know, one of your relatives. It's that I just don't usually open up for them, you know, but sometimes stuff still comes in. And it was like Tom said earlier, he goes, how did you know I was talking about you? And I put the link in.
I was like, I knew.
I knew 20 minutes before I joined the live stream. I knew.
I know, and I was hoping Debbie would jump in. I was like, that would be awesome if, you know, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom predicted it.
We're on 2 hours, and I got to start shutting us down. So.
Okay.
So, but I will do this again. I had a lot of fun with everybody. So
yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, this is fun.
I'll try to focus this more on topics next time. I know it's not going to work, especially with Amy and Jamie.
What do you think, Jamie? What's he trying to tell us?
I don't know, but I thought we were the life of the party, so whatever.
Yeah, I think so too.
My inside voice. Where did that come from?
I think he was saying you're like the dog from Up. I'm like that too. I'm so like that. So, you know, I get it.
Joe would be, but they don't have squirrels.
Glad you caught us. It was very.
Squirrels are awesome.
You don't have squirrels in Hawaii?
No, we don't have squirrels in Hawaii, but I have pictures full of squirrels whenever I go to the mainland. It's awesome. They're smart little things. My God.
We have a bunch that we feed peanuts every day. So if you ever come visit, you can hang out with the squirrels.
There
We
you
got
go.
pigeons and cockroaches. You know.
Yes. Okay. Thank you all for coming on. We will definitely do this again.
Thank you.
I know I have a couple of you that are supposed to be coming on later anyways. I'm still gathering my next groups of people I have coming on. Right now, I do have bookings all the way through the end of October, and I've started to do bookings into November. So I'll be surprised when I reach out to you guys. My next one actually coming on, I'll say it while you guys are all here. My next one coming on, her name is Kim Covert. She's local to me. She does a lot of stuff with the
Quantum.
Yeah, the quantum side of the house.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Regressions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. She's going to be on next. She'll be on next week. She just sent me all of her stuff tonight, so I will be putting together the first advertisement tomorrow to come out. Hopefully, and like I said, I Bill chimed in and said he did like the commercials. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the commercial advertisements. I build those on my own, so sorry if they kind of come out kind of crappy sometimes, but it's just whatever comes into my head, what I put out. It's whatever vibe I'm feeling at that point. But I appreciate y'all for coming on. I appreciate you guys coming to the audience. For those who aren't on here because they just woke up or whatever, that didn't want to come on, I appreciate everybody in my audience always. And again, next week we're going to have on Kim Covert, like I said, quantum type stuff, past life regression. She does a lot of that stuff. She's very, very knowledgeable. And she's just a fantastic person. It took me a while to get a hold of her. Well, it took me a while to get her onto here. I've been in touch with her for a while, but she does a lot. So I've been trying to hunt her down to get her on. So she'll be here next week. So for everybody, next Monday, 7 p.m. Central. Let me do this really quick because I got so tired of doing it. I wrote it down. 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Hawaii, 6 a.m. Indonesia, and noon for the folks that see me in Australia. So,
Antarctica.
Other than that, again, thank you to my guests, all of you, all over the place here. I appreciate it, and much love. And I will see all of you next week.
Next week?
All right.
Yes,
Aloha.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. and good night.